And I think one of the things you have to remember is it doesn't matter whether it's performance or visual art or whatever it is. If it's political, or deals with political themes, it's protected. In the Constitution, that's a kind of political speech, and it's protected. And you have a right to say what you want. And again, no one has a right to tell you you can't say it. I mean, I think that there's very limited reasons that would allow political speech to be suppressed. And you should never give up that right. I mean, it's one of the few really good things about this country.
What's your name first?
My name's Taylor.
Yes. And why do you like this piece?
I like this piece because it makes it seem like she's very selfish and everybody's in need, and make it seem like she's walking away from everybody who needs help and who's suffering, and she has lots of presents, and people are just in line waiting for food and stuff, and she has all this money, it looks like, and they don't, she's not willing to share, and he's trying to pick a penny up while she has like $100 worth of stuff. It makes it seem like she doesn't care.
Yeah, her eyes are kind of vacant, right? When you look at her eyes, there's nothing there. You like this piece, and tell us why.
It's my favorite because I like to sew and like collage things, and it's kind of sewed in collage and fabric and needles and thread and found objects. And that's like my favorite and my forte, and so I just got very excited. And
What do you feel about art being censored?
I think doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't know, it seems kind of like all the first right, it's not really what the government's supposed to do. It's not really supposed to be able to like take your art away because they don't like it.
Right.
Also, I think censorship is like an opinion, and not everyone has the same opinion.
Right.
So someone could be really offended and someone could think it's like the best thing ever. So.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think just the thing that's offensive about that painting over there is sort of that it's hard to look past like all the crudeness of it, because it's sort of like it's throwing so many images in your head that are a little shocking that you can't even, it's hard to even see the message of it. I think that's part of like why it would be censored, or like why I wouldn't want someone to, like I wouldn't want like my kid to look at it or something like that, because it's so like, look at this is super shocking. Like,
Well, what do you think it means?
I don't even know what it means,
Okay.
because I think it's a little.
It's hard to interpret
personally,
because
I
there's so
do
much.
not.
Overworked?
It was really interesting to learn that that you had brought in these students, and that the one piece here that had spurred their interest was the painting. Perhaps this piece has more buttons.
Well, why do you think
for
it
some
speaks
people.
to the youth then, or does not speak to the youth, or makes the youth, you know?
Well,
I think they're more vocal than adults. In the same way that when they sit down at a computer, they take their little mouse and they click on everything and they move around, and they're unafraid, whereas adults are so riddled with their own personal history that many things they can't confront, or some things they look at something and they imbue that piece with all their own personal feelings. So that's where their meaning comes from. So kids, I mean, teens, young adults, when they look at art, it's wide open for them.
Right.
It's all a big mystery.
I agree, and they don't have like 12 art history courses,
Exactly.
or no, you know what I mean, or the fear of art, right? They're just, what if people react really negatively to your work? How does that make you feel as an artist? And what do you do with that? Because that's not your intention, is what you're saying. The shock and awe is not. It's not.
Shock and awe.
Shock and awe. Some people might think it's shock and awe.
Right. Well, the images are there on the surface. There's no deep meaning there. I mean, they are very much on the surface, and I think the language is very clear.
Yeah.
It's not like how I think of something like Solly's, like Byron's reference to Wellington, where you're thinking, well, what is this?
Right.
I think I have to read,
right.
Tons and tons of books before I can ever pierce this painting.
Yeah.
And I don't know David Solly personally, and I do like his work very much, but I don't. There's no big mystery to what he's doing. I mean, he's making paintings. He's making very beautiful paintings, and they're made to, in the same way that mine are made to allow people to gather different types of meaning. So some people indeed may have negative reactions, and I think that it means in some way there's some resonance there for them, and I don't know, it could be part of their history of why they, or whatever background they have that is coming up, and I think that if it creates some kind of internal dialogue, or it creates an external dialogue where they begin to talk with other people, then that's great, you know.
So you make stuff.
I do. I make
That's what you
things.
do.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, you find meaning, and then the viewer finds their meaning.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever find meaning.
Oh.
I mean,
it doesn't seem like it. It seems like you make it, and then it just is there, because you're always talking about the viewer.
well, I mean, we're communicating, so the viewer, I believe, is very important.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I could make paintings in my studio and never show anybody, but
Right.
I probably would still make them.
Yeah. Right.
But no, it's just, I'm just making things. I don't. There's no. For me, there's the pleasure in the process, and in color and light, and it's wonderful taking things out of your head, and it's wonderful taking things from the world around you and giving them new life. I mean, sometimes you know, you're engaged in this, you know, in entropy, where you're taking something that's lived and died and you're like bringing it back in the circle. And at other times, you're taking things that have tons of meaning and joining them with something else and creating a new kind of poetry. So I don't have like an agenda.
Right.
I think when you first asked me about political art, like, I don't consider myself a political artist. I'm just an artist. If I am creating work that has political content, it's because I'm so affected by what's going on around me that I can't create anything else. I mean, I can't. I don't want to sit down and make a painting of flowers. Because all these other things have affected me so much. I really feel compelled to put them out there, and I'm not trying to start a revolution, but I do think that bringing these things to the surface is really important. I mean, how can we ignore those things? Sometimes we can't.
Right.
So, yeah.